I never believed a place could be hungry. Not until I spent 3 nights in Black Hollow. Shh. Years later, I still wake up when rain taps against a window, convinced I've heard it again. That scratching. Slow, patient, deliberate. Not the sound of something trying to get in. The sound of something reminding you it never left. My name is Ethan. And before I tell you what happened, I need you to promise me something. If you're ever driving through the mountains after midnight and you see a weather-beaten sign pointing toward a town called Black Hollow, keep driving. Don't slow down. Don't turn your head. Don't even glance down that road. Because Black Hollow isn't abandoned. It's waiting. And once it notices you, it doesn't forget. It started during the autumn of 2018. I was 27, broke and desperate. The company I worked for had folded without warning. My savings were disappearing faster than I could replace them. And after months of job hunting, I finally accepted a temporary position documenting old properties that were scheduled for demolition. It wasn't glamorous. Most of the time, I drove to forgotten places, photographed buildings, filled out paperwork, and left. Easy money. Or so I thought. The assignment that changed everything came in an email with only 3 words in the subject line. Black Hollow Project. The attached files were strange. No photographs. No property history. No maps. Just coordinates and a note. Complete survey within 3 days. Do not remain after dark. I laughed when I read that. At the time, it sounded like somebody trying too hard to be mysterious. I wish I'd listened. The drive took nearly 7 hours. The farther I traveled into the mountains, the fewer signs of civilization I saw. Gas stations disappeared. Cell service vanished. The road narrowed until it became little more than cracked asphalt, weaving through endless forests. The trees looked wrong. That's the first thing I remember. Not dead. Not diseased. Just wrong. Their trunks twisted in unnatural directions. Branches bent downward as if they were reaching toward the earth. Every few miles, I caught myself checking the rearview mirror. Not because I thought something was there. Because I kept feeling like something should be. Around sunset, I finally saw the sign. Black Hollow population, 84. The numbers had been crossed out. Underneath, someone had painted another message. Don't count them. I rolled my eyes. Tourist prank. Local joke. Nothing more. I turned onto the road. The forest swallowed me. The temperature seemed to drop the moment my tires left the highway. The trees crowded closer on both sides, hemming in the road until my headlights bounced off bark and tangled branches. The hum of my engine sounded unnaturally loud, as if the woods were listening. 5 minutes later, I entered the town, and immediately knew something was wrong. Not abandoned. Not exactly. The houses were standing. Cars sat in driveways. Lights glowed behind curtains. But there were no people, no children, no dogs, no movement, nothing. The entire town looked like everyone had gone inside at the exact same moment. The silence was unbearable. Most towns have sounds. Wind, traffic, birds, something. Black Hollow had none. Even the wind seemed afraid to move there. The air felt cold and stale against my skin, carrying the faint smell of wet wood and old earth. My footsteps echoed when I got out of the car, the sound traveling farther than it should have through the empty streets. Every dark window felt occupied. Every porch seemed to be watching. I checked into the only motel, an aging 2-story building with peeling paint and yellowed windows. Its flickering vacancy sign buzzed weakly in the gathering dark. The parking lot was nearly empty, and the chill there felt sharper somehow, as though the building itself radiated cold. When I stepped inside, the stale air smelled of mildew, dust, and something faintly. The woman behind the counter never smiled, never introduced herself, never even looked directly at me. She slid a key across the desk. Room 7. Then she said something I'll never forget. "Lock the door before midnight," I chuckled. "Why?" Her eyes slowly lifted to meet mine. For the first time, I noticed how exhausted she looked. Not tired, terrified. The kind of terrified that settles into a person's bones. Then she whispered, "Because it learns your face." Every instinct told me to ask what she meant. Instead, I laughed again. People do that when they're nervous. They laugh. Even when they shouldn't. Especially when they shouldn't. I carried my bags upstairs. The hallway groaned beneath each step. Somewhere deeper in the motel, pipes rattled once and then fell silent. The air grew colder as I climbed, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the narrow corridor stretched farther behind me than it should have. Room 7 overlooked the forest. Darkness was already swallowing the trees. The sun vanished completely within minutes, and that's when I noticed something. There were no streetlights. The town simply disappeared into blackness, as if the night itself had swallowed it. Around 11:30, I sat on the bed reviewing documents. The motel creaked occasionally. Old buildings do that. I didn't think much of it. Then midnight arrived, and every sound stopped. Not faded. Stopped. The silence hit so suddenly that I looked up from my laptop. No insects, no wind, no distant noises, nothing. The world outside had become silent. My skin prickled. That's when I heard the first scratch. Scrape. Soft, barely audible, coming from beneath the floor. I froze. Another scratch followed. Closer, longer, slowly moving underneath my room. Something was crawling down there. I stood up. The scratching stopped. For several seconds, there was only silence. Then a voice emerged from beneath the floorboards. A voice I hadn't heard in 12 years. My father's voice. The exact voice. The exact tone. The exact way he used to say my name. "Ethan?" My blood turned to ice, because my father had been buried in a cemetery in Ohio since 2006. And whatever was under room 7 was about to prove that death meant absolutely nothing in Black Hollow.